This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, plus special features and reports with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Good afternoon. Welcome aboard. Get ready for a crush of Christmas traffic this week. A record 119 million of us will be headed home for the holidays. Nearly 8 million will fly to our holiday getaway.
Airfare tracker Hopper says if you haven't booked, you need to do it quickly because in the last few weeks leading up to Christmas last year, on average, round-trip airfare jumped by $100. Busiest days to fly will be the Friday and Sunday before and after Christmas. On the roads, AAA says the busiest day to drive will be the Sunday before Christmas.
Aviation expert Chris Van Cleve, our weather watcher Kevin Williams calling for some inclement weather later this week. More questions than answers when it comes to the drones. Dozens of drones spotted in the Northeast the past month. Reporter Tom Costello.
The FBI, the FAA, and Homeland Security all say in many of these cases, people are just seeing regularly scheduled planes or helicopters or even recreational drones. But there are now so many sightings, it's causing some people to panic.
National security expert and military analyst Dr. Rebecca Grant.
We don't defend the interior of our country against threats on the inside. So no one is in charge of anti-drone monitoring in the U.S.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says it's time the government get to the bottom of these mystery objects in the sky.
If the technology exists for a drone to make it up into the sky, there certainly is the technology that can track the craft with precision.
Unless the drones fly over an airport or military base, there is no law restricting them from being in the air. In fact, it's illegal to shoot them down. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas says Americans should not be concerned.
There are thousands of drones flown every day in the United States. Recreational drones, commercial drones. That is the reality.
The federal government is deploying a state-of-the-art drone detection system to New York to help solve the mystery surrounding these unidentified flying objects. Overseas, Syria's future hangs in the balance after rebels toppled the Assad regime more than a week ago. Reporter Trey Yingst has the latest from Damascus.
A week into rebel control, there are questions about what comes next for the future of this country. We do know for the first time since the takeover of Syria, Christian Syrians went to church. They were able to pray and gather here in the capital of Damascus. And they did express hope and optimism for the future while maintaining some concern about the fact that rebels are now in control of their country.
Just 2% of Syria's population is Christian. The majority are Sunni Muslim. Accused killer Luigi Mangione is getting a lot of support from left-wingers online. Officials are worried that could lead to copycat attacks. Correspondent Anna Schechter.
The Altoona Police Department received death threats, as did the McDonald's and the workers there who reported him and called 911. There have also been just general concern about the safety of CEOs and executive teams of other corporations in the healthcare space.
Mangione's still in a Pennsylvania jail cell awaiting extradition to New York. NBC's Stephanie Goss.
The 26-year-old just hired a new legal team led by high-profile New York attorney Karen Friedman Agnifilo. She spoke about the case and Mangione's possible defense on CNN last week before being hired as his lawyer.
There might be a not guilty by reason of insanity defense that they're going to be thinking about because the evidence is going to be so overwhelming that he did what he did.
The extradition of Luigi Mangione expected to happen as soon as tomorrow. It's a busy week for HHS nominee Robert Kennedy Jr., the man tapped by President-elect Trump to lead health care policy. sits down with at least 25 U.S. senators over the next 4 days. Kennedy's views on vaccines expected to be a major issue at his confirmation hearing. Reporter Madeline Rivera has the latest.
Lisa Murkowski, who is among the 25 senators expected to meet with Kennedy this week, says she's focused on higher vaccination rates, especially among children. Kennedy is also set to meet with 3 out of the 4 doctors in the Senate: John Barrasso, Rand Paul, and Roger Marshall.
South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham thinks Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth is qualified to lead the Pentagon, despite questions about his past.
He's given me his side of the story. It makes sense to me. I believe him. Unless somebody's willing to come forward, I think he's going to get through.
Graham says the charges against Hegseth cannot be substantiated.
About mismanagement of money, about having a drinking problem and saying inappropriate things. All of these are anonymous allegations.
If confirmed, the 44-year-old Hegseth would become the second youngest U.S. Defense Secretary behind only Donald Rumsfeld, who was just 43 when he served in the 1970s. Rescuers are racing to find survivors of a cyclone that's hit the French territory of Mayotte. The small island is located in the Indian Ocean between Madagascar and Mozambique. Guy Tyler with UNICEF fears the worst.
Cyclone Chido has made landfall as an intense tropical cyclone, bringing with it very heavy winds and rain. UNICEF is concerned about the immediate impacts of this cyclone, the loss of life, the damage to schools, to people's homes, to healthcare facilities.
Hundreds are confirmed dead. Thousands are feared dead. The Attorney General of Texas is suing a New York doctor who's accused of providing abortion-inducing drugs to a Dallas area woman. Reporter Tony Waterman has the latest.
According to the complaint, Dr. Margaret Daly Carpenter mailed abortion pills from New York to a 20-year-old woman in Texas. That woman, according to the lawsuit, experienced severe bleeding and landed in the hospital.
New York is one of just 7 states to enact shield laws after the overturn of Roe v. Wade. That law protects doctors who perform abortions or prescribe abortifacients to out-of-state patients. Still to come on the Noon Report, a Monday edition. Shop with a cop, pet sale ban, and clamoring for criminal justice reform.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams. The week is off to a mild start, but it's not going to end that way. We'll have forecast details coming up in 10.
All right, Kevin, we'll see you then. In the meantime, let's check the stories making news all across New York and Pennsylvania. New York Governor Kathy Hochul says lawmakers need to be realistic when it comes to implementing the state's All-Electric Buildings Act. That law requires most new buildings starting in 2026 use all-electric heat and appliances instead of natural gas. Home builders have expressed concern about the added cost of going all electric. Governor Hochul says she shares those concerns.
So we have a moral responsibility to do everything we can to transition to clean, renewable energy. But I also know that the pandemic disrupted so much with supply chain and manufacturers, whether it's home heating pumps or whether it's electric vehicles. So I need to be working closely with the legislature, saying we are not walking back from our aspirations and our goals, but I have to do it in a way that makes sense.
The New York State Legislature returns for its 6-month session starting January 8th. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro is blasting President Biden's decision to commute the sentence of Michael Conahan, the corrupt judge who was jailed for nearly 2 decades after being caught taking kickbacks for sending juveniles to for-profit detention centers.
President Biden got it absolutely wrong and created a lot of pain here in northeastern Pennsylvania. This was not only a black eye on the community, the Kids for Cash scandal, but it also affected families in really deep and profound and sad ways. Some children took their lives because of this.
The scandal's considered Pennsylvania's largest ever judicial corruption scheme. The state Supreme Court eventually threw out some 4,000 juvenile convictions involving over 2,300 kids. in this Kids for Cash scandal. Criminal justice reform activists are rallying today all over New York. Events are planned at the state capitol in Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse. These protesters want to make it easier for inmates to shave time off their sentences. They're also demanding the elimination of mandatory minimum sentences. New York's controversial bail reform laws have made crime one of the top issues of voters in the Empire State. A new law in New York sets a maximum temperature limit for classrooms in public schools. 88 degrees is the limit before contingency plans must be adopted. Kristen Johnson with CBS 2 in New York.
Any hotter, and the schools have to have a plan in place to relocate students and staff. The bill also requires school districts to cool off classrooms when the temperature reaches 82. That includes closing shades or blinds and opening classroom windows and doors.
Less than 10% of New York public schools are fully air conditioned. That new law takes effect September 1st. Pennsylvania's state test scores leave a lot to be desired. The results show students are still behind where they were before COVID. The Keystone exams find just 63% of 11th graders are proficient in reading. 12% have below basic reading skills. This is 11th graders. Less than half are proficient in math. A Pennsylvania school had a scare last Friday when a gun went off inside the building. A school security guard accidentally discharged his weapon inside an elementary school faculty room. It happened at the Purchase Line Elementary School in Indiana County. Thankfully, no injuries reported. Pet stores in New York no longer allowed to sell dogs, cats, or rabbits. Home breeders are exempt from this retail sale ban, which took effect yesterday. Mike Bobber is the president of the Pet Advocacy Network.
The bill was presented as addressing some sort of massive problem, and the reality is only about 4 to 8% of the dogs that end up in people's homes every year come from pet stores. We absolutely agree that animal health and well-being should be everyone's priority, but a pet sale ban that specifically targets pet stores doesn't do that.
Pet store owner Aaron Ortiz says animal rights activists pushed for this ban, but they don't know what they're talking about.
They just say the most outrageous things. They've never lived a mile in our shoes, and they wouldn't know what a puppy mill was if it slapped them right in the face.
New York is not the first state to ban retail pet sales. California did it 5 years ago, but it's now dealing with a puppy mill black market. And the Better Business Bureau reports a surge in online pet scams. Local and state police went shopping with children from Chemung County, New York over the weekend. It was the annual Shop with a Cop event. Chemung County Sheriff's Deputy Luca Macia.
They love it. We look forward to doing it every year. It's something we can do to give back to the community.
They give us, free range of the store. We have a list that we can go over what gifts they need, and my buddy Amir here has been really good about picking out gifts for siblings and parents.
Deputy Callum Hooper says more than 20 children got to shop with a cop at the Walmart in Horseheads on Saturday. Now, after that shopping spree, the children got to wrap those presents at the Horseheads Intermediate School with the officers there to assist. What a wonderful program. Shop with a Cop in Chemung County, New York. Seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, can be a debilitating condition this time of year. Upstate New York school teacher Stephanie Carlin says having a routine helps her beat back the winter blues.
I can go down a rabbit hole of now it's getting colder and darker, and so I really have to work hard to make sure that my mental health does not go down the drain.
Carlin says staying physically active helps her combat the effects of seasonal affective disorder.
I signed up for a pickleball league, and I never played pickleball before, but I will be playing pickleball every Thursday through February. So that's one thing I did. The other thing I do religiously is have check-ins with people.
Seasonal affective disorder is a type of depression that happens in the fall or winter due to the lack of light and time outdoors. Scammers use AI to try and fool consumers, but one company is beating them at their own game. Family Life's Brian Query.
Phone scams are a growing threat, especially for the elderly, who are often targeted by tech-savvy fraudsters. But there's a new hero in the fight against phone scams. Meet Daisy.
I'm just trying to have a little chat.
She's an AI-generated grandmother who talks with scammers to waste their time. Developed by a British phone company, Daisy holds lifelike conversations with fraudsters, keeping them on the line for up to 40 minutes, preventing them from targeting others. She's powered by a blend of advanced AI models that work seamlessly in real time by transcribing scam calls into text and generating responses using a custom language model enhanced with a warm and relatable grandmotherly personality. The result, a human-like conversation that frustrates scammers while protecting potential victims.
I'm your worst nightmare.
A clever tech-driven way to disrupt fraudulent schemes with Daisy's distracting dialogue. Brian Query, Family Life News.
All right, thank you, Brian, and thank you, Daisy. Sports is next. It's the 2-minute drill on Family Life.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, for the second straight week, the Buffalo Bills were involved in the highest scoring game of the season. But unlike last week, the Bills came out on top in this contest, 48-42. Josh Allen threw for 362 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he also ran for 68 yards and 2 more scores. James Cook rushed for 105 yards and 2 TDs. Buffalo has now scored 30 or more points in 8 straight games as they improve to 11-3 on the season. And in the win over Detroit, they end the Lions' 11-game winning streak. In a battle of the Pennsylvania teams, the Eagles dominated on both sides of the ball, knocking off the Steelers 27-13. Philadelphia racked up 401 total yards of offense while limiting Pittsburgh to just 163. Jalen Hurts passed for 290 yards and 2 scores, and he ran another one in for a touchdown. Aaron Rodgers threw for 289 yards and 3 touchdowns, and the Jets came out on fire in the second half, scoring 25 points. They came back and beat the Jags 32-25. The Giants could not stop Lamar Jackson. The Ravens QB threw 5 touchdown passes. He also rushed for 65 yards. 35-14 the final. On the ice, the New York teams did not fare well. The Sabres fell to the Maple Leafs 5-3. The Blues edged the Rangers 3-2. And the Islanders lost a 5-3 decision to the Blackhawks. In the NBA, the Knicks got 31 points from Jalen Brunson and a 22-22 performance from Karl Anthony Towns. 22 points, 22 rebounds. They knocked off the Magic 100-91. That is a look at sports.
Thank you, Randy. Still to come on the Noon Report. Big boom in Bible sales. Top pet names for 2024. And Kev's got your topsy-turvy work week forecast right after this.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. It's often the case that even the smallest acts of courage change the world. Kamala Bendova and her late husband Vaclav, both Christians and mathematicians, raised their family in communist-controlled Czechoslovakia while being engaged in anti-totalitarian efforts of the Charter 77 resistance group. Kamala shared their story of courage during our Colson Center National Conference back in May. The Bendova's courage began with a small act of resistance. In an old video clip from the BBC, which Kamala showed during our conference, she and her husband debated whether or not to acquiesce to the government demand that citizens display little flags celebrating the communist takeover. As Kamala described, quote, "You see, they wanted us to show the world that the Czech Republic was a democracy on the outside. But on the inside, it didn't work like that. Yes, we had elections, but there was only one party you could vote for." Well, powerfully, the video concluded with the two agreeing simply and decisively, but also courageously, no little flags, no little flags. Well, eventually their resistance would cost them greatly. In 1979, Vaclav was arrested for his involvement with Charter 77 and imprisoned for 4 years. Despite this hardship, Kamala continued to open her home to dissidents, many of whom would stop by to seek her advice and encouragement before they had to be interrogated by the secret police. She relayed secret communications. She had resistance documents in her apartment. And all the while, she and her family prayed and studied and stayed together. The Bendovas taught their children to love truth and to reject lies, especially by reading to them each and every night. In fact, the story that most shaped the moral imagination of her children was Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, which was illegal at the time. When she was asked why Tolkien, Kamala responded this way, quote, "We knew Mordor was real. We felt that their story was our story too. Tolkien's dragons are more realistic than a lot of things we have in this world," end quote. Just like the hobbits and their friends, Kamala's family also faced an oppressive regime. And, like Tolkien's heroes, the Bendivis faithfulness and small acts of courage were not in vain. Author Rod Dreher told the Bendivis story in 2 of his books. And at our conference, he noted how courage is costly, but often comes with great gain. Here's Rod Dreher.
But what has he gained by being willing to make this stand? For one thing, he's gained his self-respect. He knows that he won't live by lies, even if he has to pay a price for it. Beyond that, though, he has made a statement to the wider community that it is possible not to live by lies. It is possible to defy this unjust authority if you are willing to suffer. Over time, enough people may be inspired by seeing these small but meaningful acts of courage that they will bring down the entire system, which is built on lies. That's why it's important to take the flag down or to take the sign down in your shop or not to sign a petition that you don't believe in.
Now, it might be that Kamala's example of courage, even in the smallest aspects of raising children and exposing lies, can inspire Christians today. Christians who face what Dreher has called soft totalitarianism. Kamala and the Bendova family are reminders that even little acts of courage can go a long way. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint.
All right, John, thank you very much. Let's take it outside next. Kevin Williams.
Here is your Family Life weather forecast for this afternoon. Cloud coverage, sunny breaks, a stray shower, mild and breezy. High temperatures 40s to near 50. Rainy, breezy tonight, low temps 30s and low 40s. Tomorrow mostly cloudy, breezy, high temps 40s to near 50. Cloudy Wednesday with rain, sleet and snow arriving at the end of the day. High temperatures mid-30s to the middle 40s.
All right, thank you very much, Kevin. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. I'm Bob Price. Lots going on Monday, the 16th of December. The search for answers continues as drone sightings increase. In the Northeast, they've been spotted in at least 6 states now. Correspondent Tom Hansen.
Questions and concerns are mounting over those mysterious nighttime drone sightings.
Like they're recording people, or they're just going around sitting there, just looking at you?
In Boston, 2 men were arrested Saturday near Logan Airport for what police say was a hazardous drone operation. And here in New Jersey's Monmouth County, police released a heat map to help track drone sightings in real time.
This is a national public safety and security issue.
Reporter Scott McFarland has the latest on Washington's response.
The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security say there's no evidence of a current threat to public safety or of foreign influence, adding that of the 5,000 tips they've received so far, less than 100 of them have generated credible leads.
Some of those drone sightings are in fact drones. Some are manned aircraft, but I want to assure the American public that we are on it.
But still, members of Congress, including President-elect Donald Trump's pick to be National Security Advisor, are demanding more.
What the drone issue points out are kind of gaps in our agencies, gaps in our authorities, and I think Americans are finding it hard to believe. We can't figure out where these are coming from.
President-elect Trump's pick to lead U.S. healthcare policy has meetings this week with dozens of U.S. senators. Reporter Nicole Killian on that story from Capitol Hill.
Today, Trump's pick to lead Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., starts making the round. He is under scrutiny for his position on vaccines, suggesting disproven theories that they cause autism. His personal attorney has also petitioned in the past for the polio vaccine to be revoked. We saw Kennedy this weekend here in Florida, but he declined to respond to our questions. The president-elect says he'll have a big discussion with him over whether to eliminate some childhood vaccination programs.
Kennedy has meetings with at least 25 U.S. senators over the next 4 days. Efforts are underway to get accused killer Luigi Mangione from Pennsylvania to New York. Correspondent Allie Bowman.
He may soon be moved to New York's notorious Rikers Island jail. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg indicated Mangione may waive extradition as early as Tuesday as his office investigates the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson.
For the first time since his ouster, we're hearing from Syria's former dictator, Bashar al-Assad.
He claims that at no point during these events did he consider stepping down
or seeking refuge. Again, trying to justify his actions and claim that he didn't abandon Syria. He talks about Syria falling into the hands of terrorism.
The BBC's Steve Rosenberg says Assad and his family were rescued by Russia and granted asylum in Moscow. Officials in the French territory of Mayotte in the Indian Ocean say the death toll from a cyclone there is in the hundreds and could run into the thousands. Mayotte's an island between Mozambique and Madagascar. This survivor speaking through an interpreter.
It was the wind blowing, and I was panicked. I screamed, "We need help, we need help." I was screaming because I could see the end coming for me.
Entire neighborhoods were washed away by the cyclone. France is using ships and military aircraft to rush aid into that island. And today marks the anniversary of one of the most influential battles of World War II.
In December of 1944, more than 200,000 Nazi soldiers smashed through the weakest spot of Allied forces, capturing thousands of American soldiers in the Ardennes forest between Belgium and Luxembourg. The fighting known as the Battle of the Bulge because of the Germans' wedge into Allied lines, but it would be the last major German offensive campaign on the Western Front during World War II. U.S. troops fighting back for weeks, ultimately making sure Allied forces advanced on Berlin. 100-year-old veteran David Marshall, who was there attending a commemoration ceremony in the U.S., telling the Associated Press the young should study about the war, stressing learn all you can about it in order to prevent any future war.
That's Kristen Goodwin with Fox News. Next at noon, looking for a good Christmas gift this year? Well, you might try the Bible. It is selling like hotcakes still. In fact, there have been nearly 28 million copies of the Bible sold in just the past 2 years. Dr. Alex McFarland tells Family Life's Greg Gillespie why there's such a boom in Bible sales.
Well, this really is good news. We've seen for a decade this search for hope and really wanting to know what the purpose of life is. Since COVID, I think it's really been compounded with kind of an anxiety. And then even in the last year with, instability in the Middle East, in the media, there's been talk of World War III. So there's fear, there's anxiety, and not a lot of moral grounding. But there is a search for truth, and I think people are very wise to turn to the Word of God to learn about truth. And this is exciting, and I think it really, not only it's a good trend for people, but it represents a great opportunity for the church. The Bible is outselling other books 22-1 right now. Publishing is up 1%. Bible sales are up 22%. And the majority of these sales are younger buyers, teens and 20-somethings. Bible sales have been trending upward 41% since COVID. People have been turning to the Bible more over the last 5 years. And again, I think it's that human internal desire to know, why am I here? What is my purpose? Who is God? And how can I know for sure?
We're talking with Alex McFarland, who is an author and culture and faith expert. Christian Publishing knows that there's 1,000 ways you can create a Bible book. Some of them are study guides, some are keepsake items, some are kid or teen oriented. What type of scripture, if somebody is looking for something, or someone who is strong in their faith but is looking for a nice gift, does it make a difference what kind of Bible you get?
I think it can make a difference. I grew up, my grandmother, reading me from the King James Bible, and I love the King James. It's been around 400 years. But, reading levels, most magazines and newspapers like USA Today never exceed a 7th grade reading level because, sadly, many people in the culture are not as well read and literate as was the case in previous generations. So I think modern language Bibles can be very helpful and a little more accessible. And I always talk to kids and I'll say, start with maybe the Gospel of Mark. or John, because the first 4 books of the New Testament are 4 biographies of Jesus. I'll say, pray this, and this is really from Psalm 119, verse 18. Get a Bible and then just pray and say, God, please reveal yourself to me. Lord, as I read your word, may your Holy Spirit show me who you are and help me to follow you. The rest of life, everything we do post-salvation is to grow in the Lord, and certainly being in the Word every day is part of that. The Bible is to your soul what good nutrition is for your body. Without nutrition, the body will atrophy and die, and without the Word of God, we will languish as well. This might sound time-consuming, but what else do we have to live for? I think about, John Wesley, the founder of Methodism. He said of the church, he said, we have nothing to do but the saving of souls. What a wonderful endeavor to invest ourselves in.
Big amen to that. Biblical scholar Dr. Alex McFarland speaking to our own Greg Gillespie. By the way, folks, there's been almost 14 million Bible sales in this country this year alone. Coming up on the Noon Report, the most popular pet names of 2024. Yeah, we've got the list. Next.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Well, the disturbance that brought the overnight rain, ice, and snow is departing now, and milder air in its wake will rule as we start the work week. A disturbance in the Midwest will arrive with rain and breezes tonight into tomorrow morning. Another disturbance with chillier air will bring a rain-snow mix midweek, and much colder air follows it. For this afternoon, cloud cover, sunny breaks, a stray shower, mild and breezy. High temperatures 40s to near 50. Rainy, breezy tonight, low temps 30s and low 40s. Tomorrow mostly cloudy, breezy, high temps 40s to near 50. Cloudy Wednesday with rain, sleet, and snow arriving at the end of the day. High temperatures mid 30s to the middle 40s.
All right, lots of inclement weather to contend with this week. Thank you, Kevin. And finally at noon for a Monday, the top pet names for 2024. Stephen Kaufman has our report.
So long, Max. According to the pet sitting site Rover, the longtime favorite of male dog names has been bumped down to number 2 on the list of the most popular pet names for 2024.
Charlie's at the very top, and for our female dogs, Luna, followed by Bella. For many years, Bella was number 1, but I guess Bella's moved down too.
Professional dog trainer Nicole Ellis says Milo tops the names for male cats, while for female felines like dogs, it's Luna, followed by Lily.
All right, Stephen Kaufman reporting, and just like that, we are out of time. That's our world. The world we live in. Monday, December 16th. I'm Bob Price. Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.